are watching another video from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. In this series of videos, we're asking those who appear on our weekly Scoutcast to run through their Game Week 1 sides and explain some of their selections. Next up is Luke. Luke, welcome, and looking forward to the new season?
Yeah, hi, yeah, very much so. I can't wait for it to start. I had took the summer off, didn't do any fantasy football over World Cup, which is the first time in as long as I can remember, obviously, when there was a tournament running. So feeling refreshed and ready to go.
Yeah, so lots of planning's underway. Now, your team is special.
Well,
all FPL teams are special, but your one's particularly special because it's missing someone. It's missing Mo Salah. And that's a big, momentous move to make. Salah, let's remind people, he scored 8.4 points a match last season. In comparison, for example, Mane, his teammate, scored 5.1, still very respectable, but not super duper. He scored a record 303 points, and he's in more than 50% of sides. So going without him is a massive call. But as people can see from your team, wow, you can really use that money quite well. So just explain what made you come to the decision to go without Salah, and what's going through your head, and why?
You used the word momentous. I think many others will be using a different word. For me, I really like playing fantasy football. I really enjoyed the decision making behind it, and often getting it wrong, but sometimes getting it right. And I think I watched the Scoutcast last night, and I think completely opposite to Mark. Mark said he was going to have no other heavy hitters apart from Salah to force his decision every week. And I think the majority of people are going to have, Salah. They're going to captain him nearly every week. Why wouldn't you? He's obviously a fantastic player. When it takes up that much of a budget, he's just the obvious pick. And I don't like that. I don't like the fact that I will have Salah as my captain every single week and I'm just sort of playing with pocket change around him. I like the idea of spreading it out and hopefully getting the right captain pick. That's what fantasy football is about for me. So that's kind of more my reasoning for not having him more than anything else. I don't doubt that he'll be fantastic. I still have slight doubts that he may be able to match last season. I think a lot of people may be buying last season in some respects. Again, I think he'll do really well again. There's nothing to suggest that he's in any sort of decline. Liverpool have strengthened, if anything. But I just think the nature of Liverpool last season, they didn't have much in terms of other options. They played the same XI a lot. He was obviously a new factor for Liverpool. And I think this season people will be a lot more aware of him. Not that they'd probably be able to do much about it, but he will be a heavy focus in terms of defending against him. And they have other options to rotate. And I also think Liverpool have just blessed us with so many good options, like all over their whole team, that there's so many other players I want from them. And that's why I've decided to go for the other options. Probably, like you say, a bit foolhardy, but sorry, one other thing I want to add to that. You say he's got over 50% ownership. As far as I'm concerned, there is at least well over 50% of people who play this game don't know how to play it. I'm not saying those 50% don't know how to play it, but there is a lot of people who don't know how to play the game. So I don't really, the ownership factor doesn't really concern me. I see that more as an opportunity.
I mean that is a good point because it's a point made on a previous video as well. That the people that are playing this week. In Game Week 1 are not going to be the same quantity or quality as those playing by come Game Week 38. It's going to be less of them. And so, people have obviously looked at Salah and they've got him in. Will those players still be there 10, 20 game weeks' time? Yes, you're probably right. A lot of them won't be. But nevertheless, in terms of a lot of players, so someone like myself and lots of other Scoutcast regulars, lots of people in the fantasy football scout community have all got Salah. So it's quite big to go without him. So let's have a look at what you can do without him. So Salah's 13 million. And I'm looking at your team and it's really good. What I really like about it is it's just strong in defence, in midfield and attack. You've got a credible goalkeeper. And you've gone light on your bench, but you have at least one definite starter, possibly two as well. So let's have a look at your midfield first. I think that's the one where you're really different to a lot of others there. So you've got Sanchez, Jota, Mahrez and Mane. So that's quite good. That's very good, in fact. And then you've got Firmino as well. So Firmino's obviously a forward. So in terms of Mane and Firmino, do you think that those two can cover Salah? Or is it not a case of covering Salah? Do you just think they're going to do well and Salah will do well?
I think there's probably an element of covering, but I just think they're great players in their own right. I mean, I don't know if anyone watched my team beginning of last season. I sort of came out and said on the first Scoutcast that I thought Firmino would be a great pick. He'd just moved from midfield to forward, and everyone was doubting him because obviously a change of position means he's unlikely to get as many points. I think I was proved right there. I think Firmino was a great pick. He ended up being one of the best value players in the game, and I don't see it being any different this time because I look at all the premium strikers out there from the top clubs. You know, you've got Kane, who's at 12.5. You've got Aguero, 11. You've got Aubameyang at 11. Now, virtually all of the top teams, their strikers are really, really expensive. The only exception is probably Chelsea, but then that's because Morata's terrible. He's still, I think he's 10 million maybe. And then Giroud, obviously not back yet. He could become a factor and good value later on. But you're basically picking probably the striker from the team that may score the most or the second most amount of goals in the entire league for 9.5 million compared to all of those. I just think it's crazy not to go with him, to be honest with you. I think he's great value. So I almost have to have Firmino, I think. So that's why I picked him. And then we've had the whole preseason thing of Mane versus Salah, or maybe I have in my mind, in terms of they play the same position almost. And I know people say Salah's a far better player. I can't argue with that. And he's got better finishing. But I think when Salah first comes to the league, if people remember, his finishing wasn't that good. In fact, he was pretty awful to begin with. And it soon changed for him. And I actually think Mane's finishing is pretty good. And I think playing the same sort of similar position, and if he does have pens, which obviously we're not sure about, I can't see any reason why he won't provide great value. And again, I mentioned at the start, Liverpool in general have just got such fantastic options. With Robertson, Trent, the keeper. I mean, it could go on. Keita could be amazing. So many good options. I just want to get as many good ones as I want. And having Salah, I think, just restricts me in having the players that I want. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense because I mean I do look enviously at your side actually. It's apart from Salah, it's better than any other side I've seen.
Well, thank you very much.
But it doesn't have Salah, so I don't know whether. So it depends on the way you look at it. So you haven't got the guy that most people are going to be captaining for most of the early weeks probably. But you have got. I mean, you put forward a good case for Firmino and Mane. And Mane, as you mentioned, could be on penalties as well. He's been taking them in pre-season. We don't know whether that's a permanent thing or not.
Yeah, well, exactly. I was just going to touch on that. I mean, I know pre-season means absolutely nothing, so let's take it with a pinch of salt. But let's say we were playing FPL for Liverpool's pre-season. I would suggest that Firmino and Mane have done as much as Salah, if not more. I mean, in their last friendly, I think maybe I'm not sure Salah even scored. He may have got an assist. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so let's say we apply that rationale where I've got Firmino as captain as I have at the moment. I think he got a goal and assist, and then Mane chipped in. So already, I'm up on over 50% of the game there, and I've got more money elsewhere. So hopefully my more expensive players will have done better, which isn't always the case, as we know. But, that's just a little a sort of window there you could apply it to, a small amount of data. But already that sort of worked for those first couple of games. Go on, carry on.
No, I was gonna say, so, I mean, you mentioned about spending the money elsewhere. I think that's the real key thing about your team, isn't it? With Mane, Firmino there. And you've got this triple, and you've got a triple Man City as well, which includes Aguero, and then also you've got Mendy, so you've got a really pricey defender, and then you've got Mahrez as well. So a lot of other teams I've seen, so Salah teams, possibly gone for triple City, but they haven't got Mahrez, Aguero, and Mendy, and triple Liverpool because they can't afford it. So they've probably got Bernardo Silva in there. So you've got Mahrez. Now, what makes you think that Mahrez is better than Bernardo Silva? I kind of probably know your answer, but it'd be good to get it from you.
To be honest, I don't think Mahrez is better than Bernardo Silva at the moment, just because of obviously Pep's comments, because of how well he played in the Community Shield. I think, again, a lot of us base stuff on what happened last season, and last season Bernardo Silva wasn't a great option because he was on the bench a lot. But he was still bought for a hell of a lot of money, and he was a fantastic player at Monaco, and I just think he is a fantastic player. Sometimes players take a little while to adapt. Pep is basically saying, Bernardo Silva is great at the moment, and he's far fitter than everyone else. So it pretty much guarantees, in my mind, that he will play at least the first 2 or 3 games. And if he's playing fantastic and doing really well, then there's no rush to bring back the other people. And why even drop him if you feel like you have to? I mean, why would you drop one of your best performers? And I think he could quite easily be it. So to be honest, I've weighed up having Bernardo Silva over Mahrez a lot. The thing with my particular team is I've got a lot of people just holding positions in my team. Like Sanchez is the obvious one for me. There's also people like Shaw and Trent who may not 100% play. So it's like I kind of don't want to start with Bernardo Silva and have another option. May have to adjust later on. I want to just go for the man who I think over the course of the season. Mahrez bought so much money. They wanted him for so long. He's been fantastic in fantasy football, ever since he burst onto the scene for Leicester. Bonus points, everything, and maybe a bit different at City. But I just think Mahrez is probably the best midfielder to have from them for the whole of the season. I think he can also play virtually any role. He can almost play as a striker, I think, in a 2 if they go 3-5-2. I mean, Jesus subbed on for him in the Community Shield. So I think there could be a little bit of rotation there. In terms of him playing up front occasionally. I think he can drop deep. I think he can play in any of the wide roles if they're playing the 3. I think he's the most flexible player they've got. Sané's kind of, left wing only. Sterling's kind of number 10. He can play the sides, but not really as well. He's more of a striker, really, hides in the number 10 role. So that just leaves, Kevin De Bruyne, Silva, David Silva and Bernardo Silva, more the creators, which Mahrez could even fill that role, I think, as well, if he needs to. So I just think he's the best option from City right now because I just think he's got the best chance to play.
I must admit, I've got Bernardo Silva in my team. I've got a Salah team, and I would prefer to have Mahrez, definitely. I just haven't quite got that money because I haven't got 3 million to spare. But no, I think that's a wise move. Also, you can trade down to Bernardo Silva. Can I trade up to Mahrez? No. And can all your rivals in your various mini leagues? So I think you're an advantage there already. Now you mentioned Sanchez. Now Manchester United haven't had a great pre-season, but Jose Mourinho has shown that he can win games, and he has a knack of doing that. 1-0, 2-0. Sanchez looks like he'll probably be involved. What's your thinking behind that? You just think got to get on a Manchester United attacker early on, and also you mentioned that it may be, you indicated that Sanchez may not be with you long term.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that Sanchez position is very, very recent. It's been Eriksen pretty much since the start of the season, and I still think Eriksen is going to be fantastic. It's just the whole, everyone keeps saying, the malaise of most of their squad that's just totally out. I mean that could work in Eriksen's favour in terms of he's the only main man there, so he still could get a load of points. But it also just worries me, slow start and stuff. So I've kind of moved away from Eriksen. I may even still go back. I just love the guy. So it's a recent thing. And I think the thinking behind it is essentially Leicester just look like they may have, I think his name's Benayoun in centre-back with Morgan, potentially, at the beginning of the season. They're ropey defensively as it is, and that's with Maguire, who's obviously a top defender. I'm not a fan of the manager. They've lost Mahrez, and Vardy may not play. To me, there's no better time to play Leicester. Which is strange because I nearly always have Vardy as first game week 1 player for every season because Leicester just seems to surprise us and he seems to score goals. So I'm kind of going against what I normally do. So I'm just sort of chancing it with Sanchez. Really, I don't think he's a great pick. I don't think he's been a great pick for a long time in fantasy football. Really, ever since he was moved from up front for Arsenal, sort of when he played up there for half a season almost. He's not really been good since. But I've more got my eyes on Hazard, who's 10.5 million. I don't know whether it's just the World Cup that sort of turned my eye, but also the fact that they've actually got an attacking manager now. And Hazard, for me, is still one of the best players in the world. It's just his productivity's not been what it should be. And I'm hoping Seri can change that. So to be honest, that 10.5 is more the allure of when Hazard comes back, he's coming straight in for Sanchez. And I don't want to have to readjust my whole team to do that. So that's kind of my thinking with him, to be honest.
Yeah, no, once again, it's easy to trade down from Sanchez, not so easy to trade up. Yeah, no, I think that's really wise. And also you've given yourself, keep going back to this because it has to be, this is the theme of it, no Salah. You've got the luxury of doing that. I haven't got even the luxury to even consider someone like Sanchez, just simply too expensive. I just wanted to have a look at your goalkeepers as well. So a lot of people have gone for a Fabianski Foster type rotation. Some people have gone to Hay. Some people, as on earlier, who had the 2 Everton goals. You've gone for Brighton, so my team. So I'm obviously delighted to see this. So you've gone for Ryan and Button, who we think will be his deputy rather than Steele, who they've also signed. So you've got a good one there. Just looking at the goalkeeper stats. So minutes per save, top one, to put it into context. save every 21.7 minutes was Jack Butland, and Matt Ryan save every 27.4 minutes. So he's in the top 1, 2, 5 goalkeepers, regular starting goalkeepers last season for getting minutes per save, and he's better than Pickford, and he's better than De Gea in that regard, in that metric. So yeah, I think you're probably wise there. Brighton are quite tidy at home. What's your? I mean, that's my thinking behind what you've done. But what's your reason for going for Brighton in terms of the goalkeeper role?
Well, I think like many, or maybe it's just me, the goalkeepers has been a puzzle for me most of the season. I've chopped and changed them a lot. It's just really hard to pick. But I've settled on Ryan for now because although Brighton's fixtures are terrible, I think you just mentioned that. I just think he's a really good goalkeeper, and I really like the way Brighton set up, especially at home. They basically aim for clean sheets. They're pretty much like Burnley in that respect, and you're paying $5 million for a Burnley keeper, or maybe not at the moment because they're all injured, but it's kind of the team in that mould. I think their defensive unit is very sound. I think that he does get a lot of saves. He's good at saving penalties. And yeah, I just think over the course of the season, Brighton will be up there for clean sheets again. I could be wrong. It could be a bit of second season syndrome. But there's plenty of other 4.5s out there that I could swap to if I need to. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the rationale for having him. I'm sort of taking a more season-wide approach for that, and I think that Ryan will probably be better than, say, Foster at Watford's got a great start, and I don't think he's as good a goalkeeper, but more importantly, I don't think Watford can keep as many clean sheets as Brian. So that's kind of my rationale that I've applied to all the 4.5s, and he just seems to come out on top at the moment.
Yeah, well, you'll get no argument from me about backing Brighton there. So, but looking at your bench here. So, we had Az on previously. People can look at his video there. His bench was awful. When I put it up on Twitter, I put one of those little emojis with someone being violently sick next to his bench because it almost made me like that. Your one doesn't make me sick. So you've got a potential. Well, you've got a probably definite non-starter there with your Chelsea 4.5 midfielder.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure.
Oh, but you never know. Yeah, no, well, that's good. So you think he might start. But you've got, the thing I like is you've got Tompkins there as a player I like. I do like my central defenders who get forward in for set pieces, have goal threat. And you've got Wan-Bissaka, who looks like he might actually be starting, which would be fantastic if he is. So I think you've got two, maybe 2.5 if you think the Chelsea guy will start. So what's your thinking behind that? And are you happy with that bench? You think that bench will do you?
I do, yeah. Obviously, we want to put most of our money on the pitch if we can help it. So that's obviously a strong thinking. Wan-Bissaka was, I think he was really good when he played last season. When he was sort of shoehorned in because he had so many injuries. He was really good in Sky. He got loads of passes, tackles and stuff. So I imagine he's quite good BAPS-wise as well in FPL. I haven't actually checked that out. But it's more about the fact that he costs $4 million and I think he's going to start. I mean, his only real competition is Joel Ward, who's kind of on the decline. So yeah, everything points to him starting. $4 million, great. I mean, Palace not great for clean sheets last season, but they did step it up when Sacco got back. And as long as Sacco stays fit, I think they're always in with a shout. Tompkins just... 4.5 million. He looks like the only problem with him is injuries, really. If he can stay fit, I think he's great. I mean, there's a case for him to be in your starting XI because he's obviously got a goal threat. I imagine he'll get 5 or 6 goals this season. So that could frustrate many, to be honest, because he could remain on the bench when he gets them. So I'm really happy with those two, and I think those two have kind of solved an issue. I think 4.5 for a goal scoring centre back in a team with good fixtures. Sign me up. So that's why I've got him. The Hudson-Odoi thing is. Yeah, I mean, long term, will he keep starting? Probably not. But hear me out here. I just think he's been the best player in pre-season for him. He's obviously fantastic. Players come from nowhere all the time in this game. At the moment, he lines up in the Community Shield on the left. He was the better player out of him and Pedro, without a doubt. Pedro there was also Willian on the bench. So obviously he's more of a right side, same as Pedro. So if anything, I think Willian will come in for Pedro, who was really poor, and Hudson will continue to play. Obviously, when Hazard comes in, he'll probably replace Hudson. But at the same time, Morata has been absolutely useless, and Giroud's not ready yet. And is Giroud even in the mould that Sarri wants? I'm not 100% sure he is. He usually has like that Mertens, that quick, nippy little player. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Hazard go up top, and that would leave a spot for Hudson on the left, because I think out of all their attacking options, he's probably the best. Now, I'm probably being hopeful there, but the way Morata is at the moment, and the way Hudson's fitness is, I think he'll start for quite a while. Yeah, and even if he doesn't, I'll take 10 minutes of him off the bench. I mean, Hazard's going to have his minutes managed to begin with. Giroud will when he comes back. And I said Williams already having the minute managed. Pedro's just absolute trash. So I think you're going to get, if not full starts from him, you're going to get sort of 20, 30 minutes for a long while out of him. And I'll take that from a Chelsea, 4.5 Chelsea attacker in the front three over a Romeo who's going to get me like 1 point if he gets the yellow card. I'm happy to take the risk. I'm happy to take, because I've got Tompkins and Wan-Bissaka who I think will play. So there's also the fact that I think that against Huddersfield, let's say Chelsea play do well, because I think Huddersfield have kind of been on the decline towards the end of the season. It might be second season syndrome with them. If Hudson-Odoi scores in that game and he's 4.5 million, or he does really well, I think everyone's going to start jumping on him, and you will see his price rise. And that's kind of the other factor for me. I can jump off of him later, but hopefully I'm looking to get some money out of him.
I mean, I think it's a sound rationale in terms of taking a risk. If you're going to take a risk, take it for the 4.5 midfielder that is going to be on your bench most weeks. So, yeah, I can definitely see that. Obviously, you've taken a bigger risk here, but I hope it pays off in a way, because I part of me kind of, whilst I don't wish a bad score on myself, I'll be with half FPL managers being disappointed. But I think sometimes this kind of more maverick approach deserves a reward, really, and it would be a shame if it didn't work out. So I hope it does. But for now, Luke, thanks so much for revealing your team and explaining that. Just for everyone else, there's a whole bunch of videos on Fantasy Football Scout's YouTube channel. Do have a look at it, and do have a look at some of the Rate My Teams we got on there, and of course the Scoutcast this week. But for now, Luke, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.